Okay, so here are some out-of-the-box ideas for beating writer's block.
Okay.
Number one, write what one character thinks about another character. Okay? And it's specifically taking two characters that you haven't, that have maybe been introduced, have maybe come together, but don't necessarily have business thinking about each other in terms of the narrative. For instance, just getting into Lord of the Rings, right? Getting into Gimli's head and just writing what Gimli thinks about Merry.
Right.
That's it. Just like, man, that boy-man halfling smokes a lot.
Right.
Whatever Gimli would think, that kind of stuff. Or what does your villain think of the main character's love interest? And just writing that out, like as either as a narrator or the actual character's. I mean, like as the actual character's thoughts and feelings. That
it sounds to me kind of like just spending time with your characters. Like right, or not even about what other characters. Like, what does your main character think about that flower, or this where they live, or what do they think about that group of people, or their job that they do,
or the mountains, or the job that they do.
Like just writing their thoughts. And I think if you write it about other characters and then you kind of flip it around and that character writes about, that's a really great way to at least get to know because I do think I've run into this a lot where I'm writing and then I realize I get writer's block not because I don't have any creativity. I get writer's block because, like, I don't know enough about what the world looks like. I don't know enough about how this culture functions. I don't know enough about what this character thinks about stuff. Like, it's like a lack of information more than I'm just stuck and don't know what to do. So then if I stop and I spend time, like you're saying, where you're like writing the history of the character or writing what the character thinks about certain things, like it helps you get to know the character more and then move forward.
Yeah. And usually for me, when I do that, it just triggers some other stuff, maybe in my current, where I am in the book. But I'll just save those. So you use Notion, and you're really good at Notion. I do not. And so this is how
it has confused your simple mind many times.
It has. However, so what I will do is when I'm writing, I just put it after what I'm currently writing, and then as I write, it just pushes everything down. And then when I'm like, this is the perfect spot for it, and then I'll flip it up, and then I'll keep writing and stuff. So like, if this is my novel, I have a good this much of just stuff just ahead of it that I'm like, I could use that at some point.
Right.
And it's not organized. It's like setups and payoffs and progresses of things.
Random ideas and
it's just random ideas, but I have all of that in my head, but it's like I took it from my head and wrote it down.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's number one. That's how that's one way of getting out of writer's block. The second one, the second out of the box idea for beating writer's block is to write what a character thinks about an important person, place, or thing, which we already kind of talked about.
Yeah.
Just really getting into the mind of the character. The next one, and this is probably the one that I think is the best as an exercise, but you have the most fun with. And it's number 3, make your character commit an awkward mistake and recover. And it could be anything from, I think the most common one that I see is a character walks up and there's an NPC that's just yelling and is irate and all this stuff, and the character's like, ma'am, please calm down. Who you calling ma'am?
Right.
Like, and it's just like, oh, my man. It's just like, sir, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Things like that, or tripping, or falling, or dropped the glass, at a very embarrassing moment,
Mm-hmm.
like you're meeting the queen and your sword falls out of its sheath, something
Yeah.
like that, just a little embarrassing. Because you get to see your character in an awkward social thing where they did mess up.
Mm-hmm.
How do they react to that? Because if you had, say, like Brom from Aragon, right? He's a strong mentor. He would be able to save face really quickly.
Right.
He'd be really elegant about it. Aragon, same book. It would go badly for Aragon.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
So
that's just
yeah.
it's a different way of exploring the character where like the what we were talking about before is like they're talking about like what they think about certain things, but what you think about certain things and then what you actually do in your real life can be very different. So you can I think that's a great way to like discover the two sides of your character, the kind of conscious and the subconscious, where it's like in their brain they act like or think that they would be super heroic, and then they get into a situation where they need to be heroic, and they're not heroic.
It does not work
You know,
out.
so that is a really good.
Right.
It's like two sides of the same coin kind of a thing.
And I think embarrassment specifically helps. It brings out a character's negative thoughts, and how well do
Because
they
then
do
they
that?
they
What do
could
they
become
have to do?
self-deprecating. They could like they start put themselves down. They're trying to like they feel stupid. They all those kinds of things. Yeah.
It can put them in a bad mood, and maybe you want your character in a bad mood. That'd be a great way to do it.